This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. All their favorite songs are slow and sad.
Hello, kiddies. We are going to have a real good time together. We are talking with Lemoyne Alexander, who, fascinating guy. Tell me you're shocked that we would have him on the show. But he worked with Aaliyah and DMX, and he worked in hip hop, and now he's moving over to rock because that's where he's feeling called, and he has a record out, and it's a lovely album, and he's a fascinating guy to talk to.
Really is.
So, and I actually sound excited about it, which I don't. Normally we have to do 2 or 3 takes of this, and I sound,
For you to sound excited.
yeah, exactly.
Well, and the single has got a great hook.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
I mean, it just gets in your brain, and I'm not going to say it because it's great.
It's going to be in your brain, right?
But
Yeah.
it's fun. There, people are doing some really fun videos with it, and
Mm-hmm.
he's a cool dude. Really,
All
really
good
cool.
stuff. Yeah. Um, I don't know have you seen the video from the Oasis rehearsals?
No.
So all I have seen, it's amazing. Whatever studio they were practicing in London, somebody was standing in the alleyway behind the studio, just recording what's coming out through the walls. And I can't remember what song it was. And then wherever they are playing on Friday, whatever stadium it is, they are set up and apparently sound checking in there.
Mhm.
And again, somebody standing on the concourse, like right outside. And it was cigarettes and alcohol, very, very loud. So
I mean,
it's
go ahead.
hmm?
No, go ahead.
No, it like I wasn't excited, and then you start seeing other people getting excited, and you're like, oh, maybe am I excited? Maybe I'm excited.
I'm excited. Even though I'm not going, I'm excited.
Insanely expensive.
I know, but everything I go to is insanely
It's
expensive.
true.
But it was funny last night driving up north through northern Michigan, which I mean, okay, driving up the Leelanau Peninsula at like dusk in
Hmm.
June, and it's stunningly beautiful. I mean, that if that doesn't make you actually for a moment just be proud and happy that you are like that is just America at its most gorgeous. You're like,
Right, that you're gonna live forever.
well, this is the whole point, and it's like
Mm.
this is 4th of July. Like this is America. This is
Mm.
everything you want it to be. And then you go into this beautiful little town. It's like a Norman Rockwell painting, and it's just stunning. And it's like everyone's all decorated for 4th of July, and they've got their
Bunting.
bunting, and it would be a normal Rockwell painting, but then they've got their, khaki shorts and golf shirts. So it's sort of like you get some, you know,
I got you. Yeah.
you get your perfect soundtrack as you're driving through. And my most played mix that I've been listening to all the way up that Apple Music has made for me, all the songs I play most, and just right on cue. What's my most American song coming through my most American town?
I mean, the obvious choice would be American Pie, so it can't be that.
No, it's
Um, but given our com
conversation that we're
right,
right now.
is it Don't Look Back in Anger?
Yes, it is.
There we
Well
go.
played. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah,
In fact,
it's like,
almost every song that played on my most played mix was from a British performer, now that I'm thinking about it. For the
mm.
first, although
Is
the Male Brothers were in there, they were
okay,
the
but
third one.
I feel like they're are honorarily
They
English or
are right.
Englishmen.
It was interesting. I can't remember what the mix they called it was. It wasn't like the Spotify thing, but I think it might have been. I think it was like the most played of this something. I don't know what it was
Right.
that they did.
Mika, Make England Great Again.
No, I don't remember what the thing was that Apple put together for me, but I just saw it for the first time in my car yesterday, and they were like,
Murrah, Make
re,
England Royal
re,
Again.
yes, the rewind or something. I don't know what they
Okay.
replay all time.
Mm.
It
Number
was
one Just Don't Look Back in Anger.
No, it was like number 6 or 7 or something. And it
I'm
must have been from things that I own, not from like just Apple Music
hmm.
in general. But you know what my most played song was?
I want to say Physical by Olivia Newton-John.
I
Um,
surprisingly it wasn't.
yeah.
It probably is Ever though, because considering how much I played that. Although it actually would have been Twist of Fate by Olivia Newton-John.
Mm. Um, Morning Train by Juice Newton.
Oh my God, it probably should be.
It should be. Um, Crimson and Clover, the Pat Benatar version. No, okay.
I
Not
was actually
tips for teens?
it should have been. I'm actually surprised that this was my most played on Apple Music. Although you will not be surprised at how much I love this song. You know I
Okay,
love this song.
right. Okay, well that I've got it narrowed down now. One is too obvious, or is it too obvious?
Well, it depends on the way you're looking at it that it's too obvious. Because
Right,
when I say it, it's going to be too obvious, but it's not going to be too obvious in the way we would find it too obvious, like where it comes from.
right. Is it
Although,
Beautiful Day?
no, because
Where the Streets Have No Name.
it's not by them.
It's not a U2 song?
It's not,
Wow.
it's okay. It's not by one of my favorite bands, although I love the band a lot. But it is a song that I love
Okay.
so unapologetically. And you love this song, and we have used this song on one of our shows. That's your clue. And I mean, I love this song. Like this song plays, and
Is it Fate? Is that was it? Is it Luck? The Love Spit Love song.
no, but you are very close. You are in the realm.
Okay. So it's got to be a Butler Brothers
Nope.
jam of no. Okay. So it's not your Pretty in Pink. It's not your
No, but you're in the right show.
okay. On Run the Red Show. I'm trying to think the other songs from that
Oh,
season.
but you know it. You know it. It's like it's the one that like it.
Just Like Heaven.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, that song does things to me that I cannot explain,
I get that. Sure. I
but I'm
understand that.
surprised it is my most played on all of Apple Music because I don't,
I feel like I overplayed it in high school, and now I'm coming back around to Friday I'm in Love.
I mean, I like Friday I'm in Love.
I think there's one line that just seems it's so very English. Um,
Let's see,
are they saying dressed up to the eyes or dressed up to the nines?
to the nines,
I think
to the nines.
something about maybe it's just sick as a sheep spinning round and round, or I don't know. There's something in there that just feels very. Isn't that the line?
Probably.
Or just watch the walls instead. I don't know. Something about it feels
I
very.
just watch The Walls instead. That's why I like, even though it's not one of my favorite Crowded House songs, I love that they say always flat out.
Hmm.
It's an Australian line.
I'm not the one you should give away your heart to. You should be warm before I open my heart to you. I'm not the same.
To keep it casual and have it like a very light conversation, what was the reason for you to kind of go from your work in hip hop, where you've been incredibly successful, to go to a new genre with a new sound and a new voice and all of that? Why did you decide, like, creatively, this is the time now you want to make that choice?
Well, it had a lot to do with the music. It started with the music at first because everything musically had started to change. And, from my experience in being in that genre of music, it was dangerous. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the East Coast, West Coast thing. You remember that?
Of
Oh yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Well,
Very
being a
well.
prime producer during that era caused a lot of problems. And it was always side from side. And I was producing records for artists in New York and California. So I was stuck in the middle, and it got to the point where it started to be dangerous.
Yeah, it would be.
And and this is not what music is all about. And I got to the point where I'm like, I don't want, this is not, it's not for me. You know, we don't do this in rock and pop music, but all of a sudden the whole rap era just became like a challenge, and it's like, you know, people were dying. You know, the casualty, there was so many casualties in rap. I was like, I was done. I just lost the zen. I lost the emotional attachment to it. And before you know it, I had walked away from millions of dollars. There were people coming at me from all sorts, if from different countries wanted me to do that. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm done with it. And I didn't know what I wanted to do when I walked away from it. I did my last project, which was a record with Too Short and Jazzy Faye. And I didn't promote it. They wanted me to be in the video. They wanted me to do all kinds of stuff to promote the record. And at that time, I had lost everything about rap, and I didn't care anymore. So when I walked away from it, I noticed that I was in a dark room, dark place, and I picked up my guitar. And once I picked up my guitar, my favorite song was "I Want You to Want Me"
Of course.
by
We-
Cheap
Everyone loves
Trick.
Cheap.
an
Yeah, everyone loves Cheap
amazing
Trick.
song.
And I
Amazing
started
song.
playing it on my guitar, and I noticed, I was like, man, let me test to see if I still can play rock, because I started off playing rock when I was a kid, and I just morphed into rap, and I wanted to test myself to see if I could still do rock. So that was my first song that I started recording, and I just redid it just to see what it would sound like, and it sounded really good. And then I started doing more songs and more songs and more songs. Before you know it, I had already started this whole thing with rock, and I lost the whole feeling of rap. It was like I had found myself again, and I was so excited. I was just creating songs back to back to back. And then I said I wanted to start a band, and then I started State of Grace, and then it wasn't even long. I think after we did the first two, well, I did the first two songs. I sang them, recorded them, played all the instruments and everything, and then I formed a band around it. The songs was on the radio like 2 weeks later.
No.
And a friend of mine had heard the song, and she submitted it. That's what happened. And the radio station heard it, and they played it, and she called me back and said, "Hey, they love your song." And I was like, "What song?" And then the radio station called me, and they had it on regular rotation, and that's the beginning of everything. And I knew this was the genre that I wanted to go back into, that I had started. And that's what made me walk away from rap and hip hop and all of that. I didn't want to be associated with it no more. Now, I'm not going to say that it was music to me, I love music, no matter what kind of music it is.
Right.
Rap and hip hop was something that happened by accident. And when it did happen, it put me in places and heights that I didn't think I could ever be in. And I'm grateful for that. I'm thankful for that. But, where it ended is not where I wanted to end. I wanted to excel into something different. So as rap started to fail and be more like contain my musical aspirations started to grow during that area, meaning I was taking live instruments and putting it into rap. And people were like, "Why are you doing that? Just, sample and do it." I'm like, "No, I don't want to do that anymore." And that's how I knew I was ready to jump into a different genre where I could actually play live instruments. And what better time was during that era when I walked away from it and started doing rock. And that's how I got started. And that's why I changed genres. And I think that's the greatest and the best thing and the best choice I've ever did.
Well, and it's you mentioned that you grew up playing rock and you started, you know, learning an
Yes.
instrument. What, uh, how long did it take you? It seems like it was a pretty quick to return to that and go,
Well,
oh, this
I
is,
grew up, you could say, I grew up in a musical family. My father was a drummer for Chess Records,
oh,
and
okay.
my mom was a choir singer for the church. So there was always music in our house.
Yeah.
And he decided after the Jackson 5 came out, he had all these boys and he wanted to start a singing group with us. So we grew up listening to Motown, Temptations, J5, all the Smokey Robinson, all of that stuff. So we emulated that to a point where he kind of like forced us to be in the music business. And
Did you
then
have to wear
after
matching
that,
suits?
yeah, we had
Yeah.
them on suits. My mom made the suits and everything. So it was like, we were forced into it. So, and then kind of like when we started, for me, it was like we kept going and we kept going until we turned into teenagers. And once we became teenagers, my parents got a divorce and we started staying with our dad, and he was still in the music. My mom, she stopped singing, but my dad, he continued us being in the music. So I was like, okay, my brother, we was in high school, my brother was listening to funk. We're talking like all of the George Clinton and the Parliaments and the Barcades. And so because everybody assumed because, I'm African American, that that's the kind of music we have to play.
Right.
Whereas I went away from that. I went to listen to Rush, Thin Lizzy, because I kept thinking, well, why is it that all of the R&B rock, R&B funk bands, they don't have guitar solos and they don't really take their guitar playing to a higher limit. The only that was doing it was rock and Jimi Hendrix, of course.
Right.
And when I listened to Jimi Hendrix, he was the only one that really took the guitars to a whole nother level, but he was the only one. So I crossed over and all my friends was like, why are you listening to Rush and all this rock shit when you should be doing R&B? And I was like, I like R&B, but it doesn't have like any levels. It goes to here and that's it. Whereas
Mhm.
rock, it goes way beyond. And there's no competition. It's just pure music to me.
It's interesting, listening to Insecurity and the other songs of yours. There is an emotional honesty. There's a lot of use of the word I in this,
Yes.
that it's very much you're an inward looking songwriter who is
Yes.
talking about like, this is what I feel, this is what I think, and willing to point out your own faults and have this conversation and sort of try to explore why you are the way you are, and for other people to go, well, why am I the way I am? Is that something, was that hard for you, or was that just a natural, like, I got to talk about myself and my journey in all of this?
It started off hard at first. Now, prior to Insecurity, there was another song that I had tested, which was called Bad for You.
Hmm.
And I wrote that song with the intent to share how I feel about a person as well as how she feels. So the fault, I couldn't put all of the fault on her. I had to put some of the fault on me. That's why the chorus says, bad for you. I'm bad for you and you're bad for me. And why are we doing this?
Hmm.
Now, when I did Insecurity, I wanted to go that same route. I wanted to be able to touch people, to let people know it's okay to accept your insecurities and know your insecurities and live with your insecurities.
Because it's such a, I mean, first, the ability to say the situation I'm in with hip hop is not for me and is going to kill me or the people I love and care about. Like, that's a level of maturity to say, I need to change this. I can't change the greater thing. I've got to change this for me. And then to approach another genre, another type of music and go, I need to talk to myself and keep it honest. I
Yes.
mean, like, I love Cheap Trick. No,
Yes.
no shade on Cheap Trick,
We love Cheap Trick.
but they're not writing something like Insecure, or as you're talking about, I kept thinking of John Lennon's like Crippled Inside or Jealous
Mhm.
Guy. These songs that are just like a gut punch of somebody opening themselves up and saying, this is me, flaws and all, and this is how I think, this is how I am, and really like making it
You
okay.
right. You basically were like, if I'm going to do this, I'm just going to go full
Yes.
on. Like, let's
I
just do it.
That's exactly what I did. When I
Yeah.
when I wrote the song, it was full on for me. To be honest with you, it was my own therapy to myself.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. And that's
So
awesome. I mean, why not?
yeah,
I
my record company was like, "You need to. This is because we were going through our songs choices to figure out what we were going to put out, and they heard both of them, the management and the label. And when they heard it, it was like, "This is it. This is the song." This would
it's great.
resonate with people. I was like, well, it helped me on a personal side because I was really lost after my divorce. So, it was kind of tough on me. And I had to regroup, reassess myself. And that song was my soundtrack.
Mhm.
Did you get any pushback from the label when you show up with a song like Insecure? Are they just like, couldn't you have written Dream Police? This would have been a lot easier to sell.
Yeah, no, to be honest with you, I was the one that was doing the pushback because I didn't want that song to come out. I was like, no, 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 let's go with another song. They was like, no, 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 this is the one. This is going to be attached to the world. The world can actually understand their own insecurities through this song.
Hmm.
And I was at first like, really? Are you sure? I was doubtful at first, but obviously, the world likes this song and millions of people liked it. And we got like what in the first month and a half, 3.41 million on TikTok. It
Yeah,
shocked me.
it's
It ain't
well, and
nothing to
that's
turn your nose
what's
up at.
right. And I mean, the response through the social, through the videos that I've seen on your social with it, it's great. I mean, it's so awesome. They have owned it as their own, and
Yeah.
they've taken a song that is so personal, that is so like devastating in some ways, like devastatingly beautiful and devastatingly like heartfelt, and also added some levity and fun to it too, right? Like some of the
Yeah.
things that in some of those videos are so fun and light, like
Yeah,
light
it is.
insecurities, but the depth and breadth of it is what makes it so great, right? That it can be so like, oh, yes,
Authentic and
it's
different.
authentic
Mm.
and the whole
Yes.
spectrum of it. And that's what's
Yeah.
so great. And that is what insecurity is, right? It
when
is
I was
from here to
looking at the
here.
videos of all of these people that was using the insecurity for their videos, right?
Yeah,
I was like, I never would have imagined that this person would have an insecurity.
right.
When you look at
Hmm.
them, like, why could you have an insecurity? And they associated the song with their insecurities. Like this one lady, she did one with the hula hoop. I don't know if you saw that one. You saw that one?
No, but I am very insecure when it comes to hula hooping. So I'm going to
Oh
find
my
that one.
I was like, how is that an insecurity? I'm like, whatever it is that she was going through, she hula hooped her way through that song,
Oh,
and I was amazed.
that's awesome.
I was like, wow, it's just so many platforms that people
Right.
use the song for,
There
and
are. And
it's
the things they
shocking to me.
brought up were they're awesome. I mean, it's so cool. And it has taken on its own life. And it is so hooky. I have been
Yeah.
singing it in my head all day. It's great. It is gonna live on forever. It is one of those songs that will live in the Lex, it'll live forever. It's just
Thank
gonna,
you.
yeah, it's amazing. I love
You
it.
know, the story behind the actual hook is when you hear the song, it goes, "It's my." It only went once, and my manager said that hook is so brilliant. You need to repeat it. I said,
Yes.
repeat it two more times. I was like, what? That's just crazy. You're gonna kill everybody with it. He said, trust me, do it 2 more times. And I went back in and I re-sang it. Now you get the hook 3 times inside of the hook. And I was like, okay, that's very repetitive. And that's what made me go, I don't know about this song. But then when it came out and the whole world started responding to it, and I was like, well, I guess he was right. People
Well,
like it.
and yeah, and if you think about it with the nature of it, when it is something like you're insecure about, right? It
Yeah,
haunts you, right? So
yeah,
you
that's true.
do say that in your head. So if you think about it, you repeat that in your head too. So it
Yeah,
kind of imitates that, but in a good way,
yeah, that's true. In a good way. I mean,
right? And so you
these
want to
ways,
say it repeatedly to remind yourself this is just my insecurity getting the best of me.
yes, that's exactly
So
what I wanted to do in the song.
right. So that's, you need to do it more than once to remind yourself as a listener.
Does it, let me ask you this, does it work for you
So
being able
far,
to hear it three
yes.
times in the
So
Yeah,
hook?
far,
yeah.
yeah, it does.
Okay,
No, it
then I
does. No,
did
it
my
does
job.
that. You're doing it the right. It's right. It's the right way to do it. Yes. So your manager wins on this one.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was dead on with it. Because
Yeah.
everything that he told me to do, I was skeptic. And I did it, and I trust him. I trust him with it, with his knowledge. He's good in music. So when he told me to do it, I did it.
That's so good.
When
That's
you
awesome.
sit down to write a song like Insecurity or Bad for Me, I, do you know that's what you're wanting to talk about? Or is this something where you sort of, throughout the process of just jamming and playing, where you're like, I keep coming back to these ideas and these themes, like maybe I'm trying to tell myself something here.
No, I think a lot of that has a lot to do with my dad. As growing up listening to music and being involved in music for years, my dad used to teach me and talk to me about touching people. It's fine and dandy that you can sing and play. Everybody can sing and play, but
Hmm.
can you reach your audience enough to be able to get them involved in what you're talking about? So it took me a long time to understand the concept of songwriting. And as I was growing as a songwriter, I said, how do I, because my songs were boring at the beginning, but then I can understand why, because I was a kid. And as I got older, I started listening to all the people that I was admiring, mostly rock artists, but then some R&B artists. One of my favorite ones was Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I liked the way his writing process was.
Hmm.
He talked about real energetic philosophy and things that resonated with the world.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, how do I do that? I want to be able to talk about things other than love and heartbreak, and I tried to get away from that. And for some reason it led right back to it, because if I'm going to do it, now I'm going to really involve myself in the process of singing and writing a song where people can understand what I'm trying to relate in the message.
Hmm.
And now when I write, I don't just write, I write to be able to connect. We wouldn't be having this conversation if you didn't hear Insecurity.
Right.
So when you heard Insecurity, oh wow, just like she just said, it resonates with her, and it resonates with the world, because they can identify with the song, with their own lives and their own situations. Not many songs do that, and I kept saying, well, I'm happy that I did that. And as my process when I'm writing, it's not all the time like that, but
Hmm.
majority of my process is basically trying to adopt into what the world is doing and put myself in that, just from my perspective. So yes, I do that a lot when I write songs.
And because you're coming to the genre, and I think you can look at it very much as like spending time in hip hop, spending time in all these other genres growing up, and having, your parents having the church, and, you mentioned chess, so it's got to be the blueser in there. Uh, like you have this arsenal of knowledge that you've got, especially, when you look at the success you had in hip hop. is there things that you took from that that you're able to apply here?
Yes.
Not necessarily like a DMX record, just let's just change a couple things and suddenly we have another hit record. But like, is what did you kind of learn from that form and working with the people you did? I mean, you worked with huge names, incredibly successful musicians.
Yes. What I got out of that was the work ethic.
Hmm.
Now, the work ethic that I got from working in hip hop and rap, everybody knew when they worked with me, I was gung ho. I was dead center in making sure the song got done, finished, and delivered as a producer. And I applied that into my own music when it was time for me to do me, the songwriting structure, the hooks, the verses, the breakdowns, the one thing that I learned, which is really weird, when I was doing all the rap and the hip hop, the way I used to start my songs is the same way that I do them now, even in my own stuff. It's weird because it never went away. The way I structure a song from the beginning to the end, even when I separate them as what I was doing in hip hop, is the same way I still do it in rock. So you get some of my songs, you get changes, bridges, breakdowns, and verses. I still do 8-bar verses, hook lines. I've never did like, the only time I've ever did a song that was more than 3 minutes, if you go to the first two albums, is Euphoria. And
Because
people have
you want Euphoria to last more than 3 minutes.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. It's
Come
got to
on.
last
right.
forever.
So, so when I did the first one, it was basically all the genres that I grew up listening to in one song.
Wow.
So when you get a chance to, you go back and listen to
Yeah.
the first one and the second one, and the first one is about 7.5 minutes long. Now people will ask, well, why would you do that? I did that because back in the old days, I grew up listening to actual songs that lasted 6, 7 minutes.
Yes.
And
They were great.
most it was great. So I said, we don't do that anymore. So I said, I'm gonna do a song where it's all like you get a little bit of rock, a little bit of jazz, you get a little bit of funk, you get a little bit of everything. And I'm doing solos over all these genres in one song.
That's great.
So when I did it, all of my fans was like, you got to keep this going because this is brilliant. So when I did it on the second album, I did Euphoria Part 2, and that lasted for 9 minutes. So I did the same thing with that one, and it caught on. And it was like, you should do a video doing it. And I'm like, oh no, I don't know if I want to do a video, but I do know that it's part of me as an artist now to deliver these euphorias on every album that I do now, because it's just basic music. It's you in a euphoric state of mind. You close your eyes and you just listen to just these guitar riffs, and wherever the music takes you. And now I just finished doing 3 for the new album alone, like not even 2 days ago. And because of that, I like my stuff. No one's ever done it. So it's like it's new to everybody when they actually get my album and they can go to the last song and go, man, I'm just gonna just listen to some music straight out for like 9 minutes, just me soloing, and that's it.
Oh, and that's so cool because like you see other people, like I mean, obviously Prince did full records that were almost mini symphonies in that way,
Yeah.
where he's repeating themes and stuff. And then you look at some of those Parliament records or
Yep.
Funkadelic records where they 4 songs on a 40-minute record.
Yep.
And it's interesting because I just was talking with someone and they were saying how there's a study that showed, I think it was 8 minutes is about the length of time that playing a particular beat or tone is the thing that gets you in rhythm with that. And
Yeah.
that's when you kind of reach that altered consciousness of like, okay, we're in a similar groove together and we're all, so it's so interesting that that's the thing, it makes all the sense in the world. Like, of course, people are really love it because they're getting that time to get on that wavelength with you, and you're giving them that opportunity to follow along. That's what you're thinking. You're thinking like you got to do like an EP of all of Euphoria's like on one
Yeah.
record. So
You
people
know,
That'd be
somebody, that's
awesome.
funny because somebody just said, hey, you need to do an EP of all the Euphorias from 1,
Yes.
2, 3.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to do that. I said I was going to do that at some point. I want to get to like maybe 5 or 6 and then put an EP out on it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be. That's
Just walk
pretty
away.
smart.
I'll understand. Don't waste time on me.
Insecurity by Lemoyne Alexander is streaming right now wherever you listen to your music. For more information, you can follow him on Instagram, where he is at Lemoyne_Alexander.
Rock and Roll Grad School is produced by the Professional Production Company. Please be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, because your impassioned review is just as honest as us standing backstage waiting to come back on for the encore. For more information, you can check out our website, rockandrollgradschool.com. And like everyone else, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Today's show was recorded and produced by Heidi Hegquist and myself from our world headquarters located on the second floor of the professional office building, centrally located downtown. Our reluctant executive producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing executive producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thanks for joining us. Good night, drive safe, and may all your favorite bands stay together.
To him and stay.